So that's kind of where we're going to go today. We're going to talk about why are we going to use Book Creator? Why do you even want to use it? Kind of explore some of the Book Creator features and begin to kind of relate a little bit of content to it. So it doesn't really matter if you're uh, an others teacher or related arts teacher, or if you are in the core curriculum areas, Book Creator can definitely be something that you can use in your classroom. My husband happens to be a PE teacher and has been for over 30 years, and it is something that he can use with his students, with his football players to model certain things in a video and have them go back and record themselves with a video doing that procedure to make sure they're doing it correctly. So many different ways that you can use it. So let's go ahead and get started because as teachers, we can all relate to this. Trying to find that balance. For 26 years, I searched for balance. I kept thinking, I've just got to find a balance. And after 26 years, I never found it. So I'm just declaring today there's no such thing as balance, that we've got to trade it for a different thought. But what happens as teachers is we begin juggling, and you know how it goes. You juggle all different kinds of things. You have those standards that you have to meet. Then you have to have that formative assessment to kind of see where you are and get that pulse check on your students. You need that student engagement factor for a couple of different reasons, not only to pull them in before you start that content, but also student engagement has proved that achievement will rise if it is there in your classroom. You need to put in that differentiation. And just when you get to juggling all of these balls, then they throw in a few more on us. Like, don't forget parent communication and that digital learning and all of the things. And so, if we drop a ball, it's really easy for somebody to notice that. So, it took me 26 years, but I figured it out. I would trade all of this juggling and my racing heart that I was always kind of really just stressing myself out as a teacher for the idea of blended learning. And blended learning is going to allow you to take that traditional teaching that you are comfortable with, add that digital learning component that you need to do all these things that we just talked about, and the students are going to love it and they're going to be able to relate to it. You're going to get more powerful feedback in the long run, and you can still make it your own with your personality in your classroom. And look, if you mess up, all you do is just paint over it and just kind of blend it together, and nobody really notices it. It becomes beautiful because all of us have our own styles, and we can keep that with Book Creator. So, with that, we're going to look at the target today. And the target is to take our list of so many to do, I mean, we have a list that is just full of things that we have to do, things that we need to check off. But what if we can take all those things on that list and just power them up a little bit, up the rigor, up the student engagement, and get that valuable feedback for your students? That is a win win for everybody. So this is one reason you're going to love Book Creator, is because the student engagement is going to go through the roof. These kids are not telling jokes, they are learning. And one of the things that I have personally witnessed in the classroom is when students are able to use that camera feature. Not only does it allow every student to participate, I have found that some students will say things that they would never take the time to type out. So that alone is a powerful thing. But also in that classroom setting where I've let these little people use that because they're not developmentally ready to type everything out, but they sure can talk. But the thing I've noticed is that, yes, they do love doing the assignment and recording themselves and listening to themselves, but they can't wait to put on those headphones and listen to their neighbors' responses. So, there you've got that collaboration, that learning from each other, and it really does bring joy into your classroom. And hopefully, some ideas that I'm going to show you today are going to leave you feeling like this, like, thank you so much. You've changed my life. That's my goal today. So, with that, let's get started. When you go into Book Creator and you sign up as a teacher, you just want to make sure that you are going into that blue screen. We're going to talk about that. But when you go in, it's going to ask you to create a library. Now, with the premium package, you are going to have unlimited libraries. So you can set those up however you wish to. And then you're going to get up to 1,000 books that you can determine how those are used along the way. Now, it takes a long time to use 1,000 books, so no worries. But you need to think about you. Is it better for you to set it up by unit? Or maybe it would be better for you to set it up by area if you're a content teacher or a self contained teacher. Maybe it would be something that you want to give every child their own library and just let them build over the course of the year. Totally up to you. You can control every bit of that. So you're going to do the library. When you set it up, it is going to go ahead and create something called an invite code for you. You don't have to do anything extra for that. And that is what you're going to give to your students when they go in and log in. Students are not able to create libraries. So, in that case, as soon as they sign in, it will ask them for a code, and you are the one that gives that to them once you have created a library. And they can be a part of multiple libraries, so no worries about that. I do always try to point this out in this particular spot, however, is every library does have a settings menu. It's in the little gear at the top, and it will allow you to make some decisions about your library. And one thing that I always like to say is we have a new feature called the assigned book feature, which is a game changer in the classroom. And I'll be showing you more about that. It actually makes a copy of the book for every student so they can edit it. And they're going to be able to give that individual feedback. But before you do that, I suggest that you turn off this little button here that says read each other's books. That way, when you start making copies, and if you've got 25 people in there, it's going to automatically put 25 in that library. As long as you have that switched off, your students are just going to see the one with their name and then yours. So that is really the only thing. Everything else is pretty self explanatory, but I just always like to point that out so that you are aware to do that before it gets to be a hot mess. All right. So once you go in and you create your library, you are going to choose a book type. And when you come in, you have lots of different options. So some of those are just blank books. Now, as an educator, there is a time and a place for a blank book and a glitter pen. There just are. And by the way, we do have glitter pens that are not messy. But there are also times when I need to offer a little bit of scaffolding for my students. So just know that yes, you can give them a blank page and then tell them, hey, go up here and use these powerful tools. Put a put a video of yourself explaining 3 things that you learned in class today. Or, hey, use the pen tool today, and I want you to draw a picture of your favorite thing that you learned about and then write 2 sentences underneath it. And you're going to be able to do all of that down here at the bottom within these tools just on this main menu here. Now, there's a lot of other goodness hiding over here beyond the shapes. There are other partners that we have that can really, really change the mood of your classroom and enable your students to really show what they know in a much different way than normal. But before we leave this is where your eyes usually go to. But there's also a little blue button up here, templates, and it has all kinds of cool things in there. And you also can import a PDF. So if you have some materials that came along with maybe your textbook or your curriculum that you're teaching, you can now pull those in to Book Creator, and you are going to really be able to power those up by using all of the other features that we're going to get into in just a few minutes. So what I want to do is I'm going to kind of present this in a little bit of a different way. I'm just going to kind of model this really quickly for you to kind of show how easy this is for you to do. So this is the screen that I was talking about at the beginning. And yes, you can come in here and you can choose one of these, whether it be the blank page or the comic version of that. Now, for the first 8 out of my 10 years, I always went to a blank page. But about 2 years ago, I heard John, one of our other teacher success managers, um, talking about the comic book. And he said, hey, you can still have a blank page. You just have some additional features in there, like different layouts or different fonts. So now I go here. But the templates I was talking about, it looks like this. So I love to use this in my classroom for to kind of add a little bit of a makeover to a lesson that maybe I'm not just really super excited about teaching. And we all have those. We have the content that we love, and then we always usually have 1 or 2 units that we're like, oh, here we go. We got to teach through, we're going to plow through this so we can get to the next unit. So if that's you, this is a great place to go. And one of the things that you can do, for example, is maybe do a newspaper. So this is one of those things where you might allow your students to create a newspaper about a book that they're reading and maybe do a front cover page of something exciting going on in the story. Or maybe you're a social studies teacher and you are talking about American symbols and you want them to come in and kind of show what they know. Pick one of those and tell a little bit about the history of that. Super easy to do because all of these are already created for you. So literally all you have to do is click here and then you're able to kind of come in and customize that. So if I come in and change the wording there, I'm also able to come over to this little I button. It's called the inspector button. Some kids call it the improvement button. And when you click on that, this is where you're going to be able to come in and kind of change your font up a little bit and really make it interesting and allow that creativity to go. So if it were historical times, they may need to make it a little bit larger and actually kind of fit in that space. They can go in and change the color here. There's lots of different things that can be done. But another feature that we have is our images. So we can throw this in the garbage here. Maybe we're not doing Night in the Museum, but we are doing the American historical features. So here, if I go here and I click, I can go to images, and Book Creator has beautiful images that come from Pixabay. They're all cited, so no worries there. And then as you scroll down, it will give you the option to search Google Images as well. But one thing that I really love about this is that we do have a speech to text option. So that really does level the playing field for everyone in your classroom, whether you have little people in your classroom or whether you have big people that just have some obstacles, learning obstacles. If you have EL students, it just kind of lets everybody participate here. So I'll show you how it works. Bald eagle. All right, so now it's going to go and pull up different images. All I have to do is click on one and click add, and it is going to pop it into that space. Now, I am using a template, so it already had that place there reserved for that. But you can also come up here and grab images here in the same way. It looks exactly the same. It's just going to allow you to put it wherever you want to on the page. So let's just say that you're doing a period of time that you want it to look older. All right. So now you can come over to the I button and you're able to kind of change that background a little bit. So by clicking this, now it looks like an older paper back in time. So that's just a fun way of how you can kind of enhance your lessons just a little bit along the way. So I'm going to go back over here and hop back into our lesson here and just kind of keep walking through some of our different options. So our text features certainly has a place, but there is something special about it. When you come into our text features, it is going to open up a box, and these are just a few of the ones that you would see in the comics. If you just go to a blank book, it's just this bottom one. So that's what I mean when I say it's kind of got some layered features in there. But when your students come in here, it looks like a normal text box, but this kind of sets us apart. It is speech to text, just like it was with the images. However, there's this little arrow here. And if you have any EL students, we this works with 120 different languages. So all you have to do is have them click on their native language, and then it will hear them and still do the speech to text for them. Again, leveling that playing field. So we've talked about images, we've talked about text. You also can use the camera. The camera is really cool because they can come in here and actually take a picture of maybe a writing journal that they've been working on and then add their voice with the record feature of reading it for fluency. Or maybe they just want to pop a exit ticket in a video form. Like I said earlier, they will often say more than they'll take the time to write. And plus, you will be able to tell the depth of knowledge that they've taken away. You'll be able to hear the vocabulary they're using. Or are they just talking about one part of the lesson? Or do they have hints of it all the way through? That's what I mean when I say powering up the content in a lesson. And it's super easy. All they do is click, it counts down. Then they can answer the question that you've given them or just do a quick exit ticket. Oh, nice. Sorry about that. Then they click use the video. It will just pop it right there on the page. They're able to come in and resize that, maybe tuck it up in the corner. So that's one way that your students can use that. But what if you used it as a teacher to kind of record a little tutorial for them or a little reminder about something that you learned in class that day and just tuck it away up there at the top of maybe one of the curriculum pages that you've pulled in through that PDF import. So you've got all different kinds of options. We've talked about the formatting content part. We've talked about the adding the images part. We looked at the camera, but before I leave this, I always love to show this because yes, it's perfect for little people who aren't quite ready to type in all of their responses. It makes it doable for them. And I'll show you some examples in just a little while of what it might look like in the classroom. But I always like to show this as well because we have a school in Tennessee, the Tennessee School for the Deaf, and they actually use Book Creator a lot because it allows their students to sign their information. So, a completely different spin than what maybe you had been thinking about it. But again, those accessibility features open up for everybody. And then I put Diary of a Wimpy Kid here because sometimes it's just a fun twist to let that student kind of speak from a different point of view, whether it's a historical character or somebody that was in the story that you were just reading. Point of view can be one of those tricky things to teach. But if you have them kind of reenact that person through the camera, they will discover all different kinds of things in that. And then if you've got that student that's just bored and you can't get them to do anything, the camera offers accountability for one. And can I just say it gives you better feedback than a multiple choice test because they do have a chance of getting it right if they guess. But if you give them a blank page, really there's no faking it. So that alone is just another way to kind of enhance lessons that you're already doing in your classroom. And then we do have the audio feature. So this is something that you can use as a teacher, maybe to read the directions and just tuck it away next to the written part in case there is an interference there with one of your students. But also, what if they were to go ahead and do an illustration of something from the lesson and they come back in behind it and really tell and explain what they were thinking? Or if you're a math teacher, have them give them a problem on the board, have them work it out on this paper, and then actually record their voice explaining what they were doing. So it's super easy. It looks like this. It's going to give them a little button just like the video did. It will give them a countdown. Use the record feature to add your own audio to the page. Super simple, This is great. I worked in Title I schools for a long time. One thing that I found that really helped more than me giving them any kind of feedback was for them to listen to themselves. They often, when they're in the middle of reading, don't realize what they sound like. So the second that you put those headphones on them and they are able to hear themselves, most of the time, what I found is they never even would make it through. They would say, "Can I do it again?" Totally different than me asking them to do it again, because then they're like, "Oh, I don't want to do it again." But if it's their idea, that alone is worth this tool. And then all they do is click on it and it will again play back for them. And then we have the pen tool. So the pen tool here is being used as kind of an annotation tool. Um, when I come in, there's going to be all different kinds. I told you glitter pens earlier. Yes, all the colors. You're able to come in and kind of choose which utensil you want to do. And then don't miss this. We do have the auto pen, auto draw feature. So what it does is it's going to kind of try to figure out what I'm drawing along the way, which can be challenging if you're artistically challenged like I am. So we'll just give it a little roll here. So I'm just going to try to begin drawing something. And it automatically is trying to figure out, oh, is it an egg? Oh, is it a drum? No, I need to give it a little bit more. And it's watching, oh, it's glasses. No, it's not. So I'm going to keep on. I'm going to keep adding a few details here. And the more details I add, it is trying to figure out, oh, goodness, Janet, we have got something that it can't even figure out. Oh, it needed just a little bit more detail. And then, yes, that is what I was trying to draw. So this can be really good. It's fun for your students, but again, it kind of speeds along the process. I know I always had students that I wanted them to tell me about the story, and they just can't get past drawing the cat to ever get to the sequencing part. So, this again is another accessibility tool. But in this menu, yes, I've told you about all of these things, but don't miss that there is this more section. Now, we have partnered with different partners in here. We have over 100 different graphic organizers. I'm going to show you those in a second. We've partnered with Giphy, Canva, Bitmoji, and then you also are able to come in and pull in any files that are already living in your computer, or you can embed the videos that you have been using in your classroom that are your favorites. Every time you get to that unit, you use that video because it's great. It does the job. It helps express that in a way that the kids can understand. All right? So now take that and plug it into a page within a book creator book. Now, if somebody's absent, they don't have to miss out because they weren't there to watch it on your board. Now it's embedded on this page, and then you can add the activity to the next page in the book, and then it becomes kind of like a little filing cabinet for you. So, we're going to kind of explore what that might look like a little bit more. So let me go over the graphic organizers with you. When you go to the plus button and go to more, here they live. Now, if you are looking at yours right now and you're going, wait, I don't have this in my menu, you will just need to go down to the add apps. It's going to take you over to your teacher dashboard. And that is where you're going to have the opportunity to choose to add these different apps within there. Now, I want all the goodness, and that's why they're all showing here. So when I click on graphic organizers, it looks something like this. Right now we have 104, but I heard from a little source the other day that there are way more in the works, and they are coming pretty quick. So just to kind of give you an idea, book creator does not always have to be a book. It can literally just be a page, and that's okay. Sometimes in the name of our product, teachers kind of get hung up in that, and they're like, wait, I don't have time to create a book, and you don't know my kids, their books, it's not going to work. But you're using those exit tickets all the time. Well, now you can kind of merge the two. That's the blended learning that I was talking about. So to do that, you just choose one. You can add it to your book with just a click. But now this is really where the power comes from, is your students can now come in here and they can have a choice and differentiate how they choose to give their feedback. You also can determine that. So with my students, I might say, I want you to answer 3 things I learned with a video. So to do that, I would just kind of modify this a little bit and give them a little visual hint here. So we work with Noun Project, and there are tons of different icons that you're going to be able to find in here. But in this situation, I might come up and just put a little visual that I want them to make a little video right on the page and shrink it to fit in this box. That way, it kind of speeds it along. We're not waiting on them to type out a lot of things. We just need to get it down. I need to know if I need to stay here tomorrow and camp out on this topic a little bit more, or if we're ready to move on. But in the 2 things I found interesting, I might want them to record their voice for that. So I might just come in here and look for a little icon that's the mic. And again, I'm able to just pop that in there. And then this one might be a free choice to where they can just type it, or they could record it, or they could draw a picture, or whatever suits them. So these again are ready made with a click of a button. You pop it in there and then it puts the power into their hands, but does offer a little bit more scaffolding than, say, a blank page. Now, let's look at how we can use all of these tools that we just went over. With the time that we have left, I really want to kind of start making some connections for you. There is a book that I read by John Antonetti. It's called The Powerful Task Design. And in it, he says, until there is an articulated task completed by each individual student, there's no guarantee that they were thinking or much less learning. And isn't that true? How many times have we as adults been in a situation, hopefully it's not right now, where you just hear and you look present, but you're checked out? It happens all the time, and it happens to your students as well. So, again, if we can give them something that's going to actually pull them into the lesson, then you've got something. So, what if we take these tools and we begin to take your expertise as a teacher, and we know that every good lesson has certain parts. We need a hook. We need to be able to build that background knowledge for them, make those real world connections so that they can understand the content that you're about to pour into them. Then you're actually going to deliver the content. They need to practice with it. And then you need some kind of assessment to go along with it, something where they can show what they know. And then if you want to, for classroom management, I usually toss in an if you finish early activity. So what would that look like with the materials or the tools that I've already told you about today? We are experts as teachers with slides. We've got that down pat. We've used it for years, but I'm going to challenge that today and ask you to start thinking about maybe packaging your lessons in Book Creator, because you can not only use them to teach from your board like she's doing here, but as soon as you send them back to their seats, you can now push a button called the Assign Book feature, and it will make them a copy, and then it becomes an immediate station or a student, a place where they can show what they know. And you can begin to get that formative feedback that you need about every student. Now, when you're doing it in this capacity, it kind of houses it. So if you have to go to a referral meeting, or you have a parent teacher conference, now you're able to pull up a sample of that student's work. And let's just say they're struggling with reading. And that parent goes, I'm sure this doesn't happen with you, but sometimes in Alabama, where I am, parents will say, I don't know, he reads fine at home. Well, now you as teachers are going to be able to come in and you're going to be able to hit play, and they're going to be able to read, and then case closed. There's not going to be any differing opinions at that point. You'll all be able to hear the same thing. Plus, if you started in August or September when they come back to school, and you do this periodically throughout the year, you will have a picture of their growth over the years. So there's so many different benefits of that because these are the things that we've talked about today. These are the things that are hiding not only in this menu, but in this one. So, how would this actually look in the classroom if we're talking about lesson creation? We've got to start with our standards. We know that. But if I can do that and house it and it be built so that next year all I have to do is pull it up and use it again, I'm here for that, right? So let me just give you something to think about. By putting it in Book Creator, you're kind of packaging it in as a gift that the kids love because they're getting to interact with the content in a completely different way. But it's going to be building your filing cabinet so that if you have to be out because you're sick, your sub can still keep the learning process going. Or if you're a secondary teacher, sometimes students have to be out for sporting events. Well, if you're just showing that video up on the board and they miss it, right? But if you can now have it here in this form by using that embed feature, now you're going to be able to just give this to them the next day, and then they're going to be able to kind of fill in the gaps there that might have otherwise been left. Now, before I start with this, let me remind you, if you are a teacher that proudly declares I'm not techie, you can do this because you can just have a blank book and then you just give them those verbal cues like you normally do in your classroom. Oh, hey, pull up your Book Creator journal, just a blank book, right? They design the cover. Then you would say, okay, turn to the next page. And today, what you're going to do, if you're working with little people, you're going to use your uh, leveled reader. And I want you to read like you're the teacher. And don't forget to show your pictures to your class who are on the other side of this camera. So it can be a blank page. But I'm about to show you some other things that you can build. If you've been, I saw some fives and sixes on that scale a second ago in that chat. If that's you and you feel really good about using the tools, I'm about to challenge you just a little bit more. But this is really where the power is when the students are putting back their feedback in here. All right. So here, with this in mind, let's start breaking these parts down like a hook. All right. Because you can embed a video. What if before you ever even start the lesson on mammals, you embed a video and if you think it's not working,
Shh. Stay absolutely.
but what you can do is you can download it and then pull it in as a file. So you've got some options here, but this is a 360 video. And if you're not familiar with these, what this means is I can click and I can drag. It plays like a regular video, but I'm able to look all around in every direction and I'm controlling this. Your students would have control as well. So now they're not only learning about mammals up close and personal, but you can pull in that habitat as well, and they can begin to observe in a different way. They absolutely love this. And again, all you have to do to add that to the page is go to the plus sign, go over to more, go down to embed, and it will just ask you to copy and paste the link right in here on the page. Now, something else that we have is we have something called Sketchfab, and that is a partner of ours. Now, this is not something that you want to turn on for your students to use, but it's excellent for you as a teacher because it has 3D models that you're able to pull up. If you are making a template for your students, it's okay if you put it in there. You just don't want to give them free reign to go in here because you're supposed to be 16 or older to use Sketchfab. So here, you would be able to kind of manipulate this a little bit more. You can really kind of zoom in and see different features. And again, it's just kind of upping the engagement factor that you would have with your students. So the hook is super important. Now, here is one that I created about the Boston Tea Party. if some of you have been in other sessions with John, I think in the last one that he did, he used one of the templates that I used with my students about the Boston Tea Party. But this is a sketch fab, not elephants this time. But when I typed in Boston Tea Party, this is what pulled up. When I first saw it, I was like, well, that's kind of weird. It kind of looks like Legos. Well, the fact that it looks like Legos will actually pull some students in. But really, it's the details of it all that inferring that's going to be going on. So as they kind of go in, they can see, oh, they're holding it above their heads. It looks like they're throwing it in. Oh, wait, and there's something written on here. Again, it is just a model, but you're going to get them thinking. You're going to get them interested before you ever get to the content. Now, let's go to the next part where you're building that background knowledge. To me, one of the most powerful things is images. I've already shown you how to pull those in. If I'm doing a lesson on biomes, one of the best things that I can do is just show them examples of different ones before we ever add any print to it or I even start talking. Just having them examining that. Super easy. All you have to do is plus images, throw it on the page. All right. You can also put in a video, just like we talked earlier. So that's going to go ahead and get them making those connections. This is another one I love, again, from the Boston Tea Party book. Imagine you were here. It's just an image, but it's your discussion that you're having with the students that's the powerful part. You can be doing this from the front of your board. Imagine you were here. What would you hear? You're going to hear shouting. You're going to hear seagulls. You're going to hear splashing. What would you smell? You're going to smell fishy water. You're going to smell tea in the water. You're going to smell dirty people. Just think about how much deeper your conversation can go with your students once you pull them in with all of these different senses. So that is the hook and the explore part. Now comes your content. Maybe you always like to use a certain article. I love to use Wonderopolis in my classroom. So what I can do here is I can go to the plus, go over to more, go down to that embed feature just like we did earlier. And instead of putting in a video link, I just put in a link to the article. And then it will look like this on the page. And it will open that up right here for them. And it just becomes the live article on the internet, only they're not going out to get it. It's really coming to them. So here is an idea. Let me give you another one. Epic Books is something else that we always use. You can embed a link to that, and then they can read the book within the page of Book Creator. Keeping with the Boston Tea Party, here I've put a choice for the students. They can either watch a video that I've embedded or read the article, but then they have to give me some kind of feedback down here at the bottom. Again, that accountability piece, and also they can't fake it. They can't say, oh yeah, I watched it, and not be able to give me something back. So it's really pushing them to give me something. So next would come the apply part. I've already shown you those graphic organizers to where you need to see, did they pick up the skill? Can they give me something back? How much do they know? Those graphic organizers are perfect for that. It gives them a little bit of structure without really keeping them in the box. And again, if they decide to fill in that with a video or an audio, it all works. So here's an example that a middle school teacher friend of mine, she created this template for her students. She was talking about World War II, and so this will look familiar. She has just taken those pre-made graphic organizers and she just tapered them to fit what she was teaching. So again, another example of how she was able to take that and really tweak it to fit what she was doing. Here are some elementary examples. This is just a box. So all I did was just create a page. I went here to pick a cute background. And then I went to shapes and just popped it in on the page, added a little bit of clip art, and then gave them what I wanted them to say at the top. Super easy to do. It looks nice and clean and really like it took me a lot of time, but really it was just click, click, click. Here's a couple of other examples. Also, in our templates, when you click on it, you'll notice that it's locked. But if you click on the eye, you are able to unlock it. So now, as the teacher, you can come in and kind of change that prompt if you decide that you don't like it exactly like it is. All right, here's another couple of examples of we were reading Dragons Love Tacos. We needed to pull in those story elements, gave them a place to put their information, but then gave them a real world connection of, hey, his favorite were tacos, but what about your favorite food? And this just kind of shows the power um, that it gives to the kids. Now, me myself, I would have been struggling trying to draw a hamburger. But in their world, they live in the emoji world. So by giving them the opportunity and turning on the animated emojis over here, they were able to pull that in on the page and then really use that drawing tool to kind of customize that. But we upped the rigor a little bit and asked them not only to do that, but why was it their favorite? And they recorded their voice here with a little bit of feedback. Here's another example of the Boston Tea Party. So, if you were there that night, would you have been on the pier or in the boat? This is where you're going to find your rebels, right? So, all I did was just use one of the images straight from here, like we looked at earlier. But on the next page, I gave them a place to put their answer. If you are doing old style teaching, or maybe not old style, but traditional teaching, you can pull in those images just like you always have. They're still able to come in and do the label with the text, or they can record their voice and give their answers. Or maybe you give them this as their assessment and then watch their creativity go and then watch that vocabulary that you've been using to see just how much they carried away. So, how would it all look when it's put together? With the few minutes that we have left, I'm going to show you what it looks like. So, I've shown you this Boston Tea Party all the way through with the different um, parts of the lesson kind of broken down. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you when I was finished with the book, I hit the publish button. It's the little share button underneath the book in Book Creator. And all you do is press it. And then you have the option to either have it just read only or what they call a remix. Now, with the remix, that means that your students or you or the teacher across the hallway can come in and make a copy of it in your own library. All right. So if I wanted to come in and I wanted to drop this into your library that I made for you guys, let's see if I can find it here. Sorry. There we go. And I can copy that over to that library. Now, we'll take a look at that in just a second, but this is what the lesson looks like. There's the picture that they were looking at. You're still leading discussion in your classroom, but I also put in a page where every student had a voice. The shy one, the one that needs a little longer, the one that's gifted and ready to move on, the one that's always got their hand in my face. Everybody gets to answer because, again, with those tools, they can choose if they do it verbally, if they're doing it through text, if they're doing it through picture. You're going to get a pulse check on every child. Then here was that content section that we looked at. Again, I was able to add. I didn't really love any of the graphic organizers that were already made. So what I did is I just used the shapes tool and gave them a spot. Here is the image where they were giving me some feedback about where they would have been, but I upped it and said, explain why. So it's not simply enough to tell me on the pier or in the boat. You've got to have that background knowledge from the lesson to tell me and justify your answer. That is moving up that higher level thinking. And all they do is just add a video to the page. And then I'm able to put in some extra, like if you finish early activities here in the back of the book. So that's what it might look like. Now I've got another sample. This is a science example with pollination. So here, again, just images are so powerful. What will her hands look like after snack time? Something they all know about is eating Doritos, right? They know that it's messy. So they're going to be able to start making that real world connection before we ever even jump into pollination. And so I can give them the written part, but I've also embedded the video so now they can see that come to life and really be able to observe it in a different way. Again, I used an image, put a little text with it, and again, imported some resources and gave them a spot to really show their understanding about it. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, I forgot to click. Let me go back. Here's the pollination. Sorry, I kind of talked about it and forgot to click the button there. So there's a little bit of what they would see in their book. And then for the if you finish early activity, this is actually a PBS kids site, and it's all about teaching them about pollination. So fun, not part of the grade, but if your early finishers get there before your strugglers who are listening to it one more time, then everybody's still on task and engaged. So that is what it looks like. Now, what do you do with it? You've got the package made. You can certainly teach from your board, just like we talked about earlier. You can then send them to their seats and give them their own copy to start putting their feedback in it. Now, this is how you do it. When you go in to your Book Creator library, there are going to be 3 little buttons down here at the bottom. When you press this middle button called the share button, it will have you an option is to publish online. So that's what I did first, was to make it to where they could remix it. And once it's in that form, I'm able to come in and click this assign book button. And what happens is it will, and you'll see it happen here, it is actually going to open up a little box here. And we'll see if I can open this up so you can see. And so what happens is it will allow you to give a copy of that to everybody in your library. Now, let's just say Jacob's absent today, but he's going to come back tomorrow. Once I press that assign book feature, I don't have to go back in and do it for Jacob tomorrow. As soon as he comes into that Book Creator library, it's automatically going to generate him his copy, even though he didn't get it yesterday. That way, I'm not having to retrace those steps as a teacher constantly. I'm able to kind of keep it moving and keep it going without having to really repeat myself a lot. So that is the power. Now, before I go, I want to show you some examples. Book Creator has tons of templates already made. We have a literacy specialist. Her name is Randy. She is an expert in the science of reading. This is really the hot topic right now. And so she has already created a library. And in that library, she has, oh, sorry. Let me see. Let me go back here to the right one. Here we go. This is the library. And as I kind of scroll down, you're just going to see a little bit of what she's already started creating. So this is certainly going to target your elementary people, but the ideas that I just showed you as secondary people, you can see this would work for everybody. Now, I'll show you an example of one of these books. All right, so when you click on that, it is going to, let me see if I can get it to go here. Looks like there's a little bit of a, there we go, a little bit of a delay. When you come in, there is a teacher's guide for you. So of course you would want to take that part out before you give it to your students. But then she's already embedded some uh, videos here that are appropriate. She has already recorded directions for the students. But as you go through, the directions are in the black, but in the colored audio spot, she is actually giving them a little bit of instruction on what a rhyming word is. So, again, she has done such a great job of really packaging this up to you. So now all you have to do is go in, click this remix button as a teacher, take out the pages you don't want to give them, and then use that assigned book feature to give it over into the hands of your students. So I just wanted to let you know where that is. Let me show you where to find these. All right. So in your library, in your teacher library, when you click on these three little lines in the top left, that is going to take you back to your teacher dashboard. There is a section right here called Discover. And as you scroll down, there are tons of templates already pre-made for you. If you're just a beginner and your students, you're worried about having to know all of this before your students can use it, don't. We have actually created some templates here that will actually teach your students how to use each of the tools. You just remix it, assign that book, and then let them play around with the tools. They will figure it out and they will be your greatest helpers, I promise. But those literacy books that we were talking about, you can find them here. And don't forget, there's this little arrow over here. So there's much more hiding. She has some ELA curriculum already built out for the EL. Here are some performance task templates that are already made. We have STEM templates ready to go. There's some SEL, digital citizenship. Then she's also making seasonal books here that are all remixable. And she takes those fun days in the calendar and kind of hooks it to a learning activity. So, again, all of these are free for the taking. All you have to do is hop over to your teacher library, go to Discover, click on one, and just click this little remix this book here. And then you'll just drop it into your library and it will make the copy there for you. And then you'll be able to push it out to your students. Now, before I go, here in the Learn tab, if you have any questions, you'll probably be able to find the answer here, but you're always welcome to email me as well. And then we also have a certification course. Now, if you have time to do it all, great. If you don't, this is an excellent place to go in and just get little mini videos on this topic that you're looking for help on. So that is one of those things that is, I always try to leave that in your backpack before I leave because this is a good go to if you're looking for something pretty quick. And then the apps button is the one where you can come in and find all the goodness that I was showing you earlier. So, with that, I think that is a good place for us to stop. I am going to stop here and just ask, does anyone have any questions that you would like to ask before we go? And I haven't really been monitoring the chat too long, but have you seen anything in here, Kathleen, that maybe we need to go back through?
There was one question I didn't know the answer to that, can Sketchfabs be edited? Sorry.
I don't think you can edit it. It just kind of pulls in, and it's just a 3D model for you to use. Again, it's going to be something that you're able to just pop in on a page and then manipulate from there. But you can manipulate it also from your front board. So if you've built it instead of slides in Book Creator, then you would be able to come in and kind of manipulate it on your board as well.
Awesome. Thank you. And then, Carrie, I saw your question. I see, I think you have your hand up. We've had this all year. They generously gave this to us as a premium license this year. I honestly purchased this when I was a teacher on my own with a teacher license. It's really cheap. So I did that for myself. But, we can also talk to our academics team. Our IT team purchases several licenses for digital tools, but digital tools can be applied across all content areas. So I've talked to academics a little bit, but I think they could help with this. But if not, it is fairly cheap for a teacher license rather than like a school license if everyone's not going to use it. But Carrie, did you have a question?
Yeah, thanks, Kathleen. So is the teacher license, will it encompass all the students that the teacher has if
Yes.
like
Yes.
my roster is what I'm just
Yes.
saying. If like I purchased it next year and then Kathleen, this may be for you since you're a district person, could we use our teacher money for that? Our school teacher, like our department money or you know what I'm talking about that we
Yeah,
get
yep.
each year,
Yes,
not
you
the
can.
Amazon money, but like the individual
Right.
school money.
Yes, yeah, no, you can. And there was one year that or a couple years I purchased it. It was like $80 for the year and it was totally worth it for me. And then I had at that time I was in a STEM lab, so I was able to use it for all 7 or 6 of my classes at that time. But yes, you can use it. It's an approved tool. And there are several schools that have purchased it so far and some teachers as well. So it's a great tool. I've used it since probably 2010-ish.
Mhm.
I love Book Creator, and I was the one that pushed for it to get approved and through that process in JCPS. So even my own personal children love this. So
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, my son is trying to get a real big boy job now. He's graduating college and he just created his portfolio in Book Creator so, because he can link it in on his LinkedIn. So
yep,
that was
I got
really
yeah
interesting.
yeah I got my job, my first district job. I used Book Creator as for my presentation. So yep, same thing. Let's see. William, did you have a question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. I was wondering about the sketch fabs once again. That was my question earlier, but so I know that they can't be edited, but you mentioned they have to be 16 to the students have to be 16 to use them.
Yeah, the
Um,
reason behind that is because um, there are maybe some biology things in the that they could search for that might not be appropriate for your
okay.
younger students. But that is one of those things where if you are dealing with seniors in high school and you wish to turn that on, you can go in and you are able to control who sees what. So let me show you that really quickly. So here, as far as you would go into that particular app, and when you go in there, underneath the settings, you have the power to decide which one of your libraries have access to that. And you can control that here. And if you're ever wondering about the privacy of it, all of them are listed here.